are you? Prospecting.
Yeah, I stay a student until 8.
Some days it's good, some days it's not as good.
All right, good morning, everybody. You guys ready to get started on this?
Yes.
Should we start with, you guys want to do the affirmation so we get warmed up? I think that's a good way to start, instead of doing it like in the middle of the meeting,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Let's just get rolling with it. You guys have your books with you? Do you have
I
yours?
don't have mine.
I do not.
Okay. We may be, are we?
There's, I can get them,
Yeah.
there's some.
I tried looking, I didn't know where they were.
Yeah, they are all in.
In that drawer, by the printer?
No, we have no more in there.
Oh,
right
really?
now, but we have just the sheets.
Iris is asking if there's a Zoom link.
There is.
Yeah.
It's the same as the morning ascent link, yep. I try to keep it the same one, especially if they're not using it in Utah, just to keep it simple, so it's
Yeah.
on the same link for everything.
Books, but these.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Alright.
Thank you so much.
You guys ready to go?
Yep.
Alright, let's start with the self-confidence formula. Okay. And we got somebody else's, Iris is hopping on, and we got Era here. Is that how you pronounce it, Era? Alright, well, welcome. Good morning, welcome.
Good morning.
And so what we're gonna start with is our morning affirmations here. I don't have it, I do have it somewhere, it's just gonna take a minute to try to pull it up, but we start off with the self-confidence formula, which is from Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, followed by some other positive affirmations we do here at Everest. So it's very interesting. Just enjoy it. You guys ready?
Yes.
Alright. First,
I
I know that I have the ability to achieve the objects of my definite purpose in life. Therefore, I demand of myself persistent, continuous actions towards its attainment, and I here and now promise to render such action. Second, I realize that dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical realities. Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of thinking of the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person. Third, I know through the principle of auto-suggestion, any desire that I persistently hold in my mind will eventually seek expression through some practical means of attaining the object back of it. Therefore, I will devote 10 minutes daily to demanding of myself the development of self-confidence. Fourth, I have clearly written down a description of my definite chief aim in life, and I will never stop trying until I shall have developed sufficient self-confidence for its attainment. Fifth, I fully realize that no wealth or position can long endure unless built on truth and justice. Therefore, I will engage in no transaction which does not benefit all who it affects. I'll succeed by attracting to myself the forces I wish to use and the cooperation of other people. I will use others to serve me because of my willingness to serve others. I'll eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfishness, and cynicism by the love for all humanity, because I know that a negative attitude towards others
Can never bring me success.
I will cause others to believe in me because I believe in them and in myself. I will sign my name to this formula, commit it to memory, and repeat it aloud once a day with full faith that it will gradually influence my thoughts and actions so that I become a self-reliant, successful person. Hoorah! Nice job. All right, I don't know if it just echoes in this room. It's nice. I like the voices are up and I'm stuttering through my words. You guys ready? Okay. This is a 12-step formula with minimum standards which, when followed with exactness in a positive environment, ensures 24 plus transactions annually and unprecedented personal growth and achievement. 1. I dedicate 1 hour daily towards building and protecting my self-confidence. 2. I practice and internalize my sales skills for a minimum of 1 hour each day. 3. I contact my sphere of influence by mail, by phone, and in person, and by email quarterly. 4. I make 150 plus contacts per week, 30 plus per day, by phone or in person. 5. I follow up with all my qualified leads daily. 6. I set 5 plus new appointments per week with buyers or sellers. 7. I completely pre-qualify 100% of my appointments. 8. I have appointments attended to listen sake ratio of at least
75%
75% or greater. 9. I call all my sellers weekly and produce all listings every 3 weeks, a minimum of 5%. 10. I sell 75% or more when listing inventory. 11. I'll return every signed call and contact every buyer lead within 2 hours of inquiry. 12. I only work with highly qualified buyers who have been pre-qualified by mortgage lender and have signed a buyer broker agreement. Earn more commissions and less time with less energy spent. I recognize success comes from consistent actions resulting in predictable outcomes. Therefore, I commit to follow every step of the 12 steps of the summit of success. Alright, good job. Alright, last opening affirmations here. I'm a professional salesperson who gets homes sold. I use information to help my clients achieve their goals. I price my listings right. I focus on small wins every day. Real estate transactions are abundant in any market. My abilities make me succeed. I get stronger with every step. I'm the master of every situation. My confidence is unshakable because I live with integrity. I always have productive thoughts. I take excellent care of my body. I start each day with an abundance of energy. I am task-oriented. I set clear priorities daily. I know what I want and I get it. I attract and enjoy greater financial abundance each day. My gratitude gives me unlimited financial success. I think prosperous thoughts. I am prosperous. I handle my money wisely and I profit every day. Taking action is easy for me. I'm eager to start each day. I enjoy being debt-free. I exercise daily. I enjoy helping my clients succeed. I eat healthy foods. I'm a real estate expert. My SOI expects me to be their real estate expert. I'm a professional. I am financially independent. I earn commissions with ease helping others. I have solutions. Prospecting is good for my business. I call expires and for sale by others. Prospecting is easy for me. I enjoy following up with my SOI. People are attracted to my enthusiasm. I use technology to succeed. I get mental stronger with every call I make. I'm an outstanding salesperson. I'm a powerful agent. I know how to succeed. I keep positive. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Morning.
We'll just take a couple minutes. So what we normally do right now is we normally write our 10 gratitudes, 10 goals. We'll just do 5 and 5 today. And just want to get to a place of gratitude. It just opens your mind up, helps for learning. And then we'll jump into the role play. So if you guys want to take a few minutes, just write 5 things you're grateful for and 5 goals. Keeping your intentions in front of you would be great. Somebody else has their phone, if they want to play some meditation music or something, using that. Or some Stairway to Heaven. So before we get going, I'm gonna just speak about, if you guys want to open to page 6 and talk about the different things to pay attention to as we're having conversations. So, you know, the cool thing about role playing and prospecting and learning, this is all just about a conversation. Page 6. Yeah, some are a little bit different. Tie downs and pattern interruptions and then level shifts and transitions, especially building rapport. There you go. Okay. So does anybody know what a tie down is? Have you guys heard of a tie down? Are you familiar with that? Do you know what it is? How would you explain a tie down?
Explain it though, like, I know tie downs.
Tie somebody down, right? Well, that's what the thought is tying them down, right? It's getting them to commit. So the way I like to say it, so you'll hear the saying, telling is repelling. So when we're talking too much, we really have to pay attention. This is about mastering our ability to have great conversations. In great conversations, people like to hear themselves talk, right? So if you want to make somebody feel very special and very important and that you value their time and you're listening to them, it's asking questions and listening. And when you show that you're a great listener, they're like, wow, that was the most amazing conversation, right? And all you asked for a few questions. You didn't really say much, but they love the conversation because they talked the whole time, right? But in reality, the person who asks the questions is the one who's in control. So what a tie down is I can say something like, the sky is blue, a statement of fact, right? And then at the end, all I have to say is, isn't it? So now I'm getting you to commit to the fact that the sky is blue. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I can give a statement of fact, the market is volatile right now, isn't it? Right? So isn't it, at the end, is a tie down. That's getting them, that's turning a statement of fact into a question. And you don't want to do it too much. If you do it all the time, it definitely sounds very salesy, right? And that's one of the things as we learn how to sharpen these skills, just for our new guests that are on here. This isn't about trying to teach people how to be these slick salespeople that are manipulative, right, and take advantage of people. This is about being better at communicating and being more effective, because our job is to be persuasive, and it is to influence people for the good, for what's in their best interest. And if you can do that at a high level and be very effective at it, you're going to get great results. If you're not getting the results that you want, it could be taking a step back and looking at, well, how are my conversations going? Am I talking too much? Am I saying too much? Is my tone not the right tone, right? Am I speaking too loud or am I speaking too soft, right? Or too fast or too slow? And that's where they talk about tonality and building rapport, is paying attention to that. And it sounds kind of, interesting. I remember the first time I heard it, it's like, oh, well, you want to mimic what they're doing. It's like, why would I want to mimic somebody? And what's interesting is they've done a lot of studies on it, and it actually helps people feel more comfortable. So it's even paying attention to if their arms are crossed, you actually cross your arms, right? If their legs are crossed, you cross your legs. You can start tapping your foot, and when you're in sync with somebody else in terms of conversation, watch, they'll start tapping their foot. It's crazy. You don't even realize that you'll start influencing even what they're doing when you're in sync. But this is when we talked about the versatile selling. It's about effective communication, and it's really easy. It's think of, if you hear somebody speaking in another language, you can feel lost and you don't know what they're saying, and there's a lot of confusion. Well, that's the same thing. You can both be speaking the same language, but you're not on the same wavelength, right? They're not hearing you. They're not listening. Maybe it's by the words you're using, or it could just be, they say, like, I think it's 93% of it is your body language, it's your tone of voice, it's your rate of speech. It's not, 7% is actually the words you're saying, right? But 93% is everything else, so that's why we want to study it. We want to practice that, okay? So on the tie downs, if you look at it, questions asked of your audience prospects to get their commitment or acknowledgement of a fact. For example, do you see value in using a virtual tour to maximize exposure of your home for the marketplace? So the way I would say it is, a virtual tour maximizes your exposure, doesn't it? Or won't it, right? Those are tie downs. So you're saying a statement of fact and then you're tying it down. So the ones they use is, doesn't that make sense? Isn't that what you want? Wouldn't you agree? That's what you want, right? That's your goal, correct? Wouldn't you say? Obviously. So let's just practice that with any statement of fact. Let's just all do one. So just say a statement of fact, so you can talk about the market. So the question is, I'll bring up a question, like an objection, and I'll just start off and, I'll just work from this way over. So Leanna, so I'll just say, the market is, so what's going on with the real estate market right now?
Well, right now it's actually, we're kind of seeing a little bit of a shift in market, and you as a buyer actually have more power.
Yeah,
Isn't that what you want?
Yeah, there you go. You have more power or more negotiation ability. Isn't that what you're looking for?
What you're looking for.
There's
okay.
some great opportunities out there. Isn't, would that be something you're interested in? You see what I'm saying? So you're talking about the market, and then at the end of it, you're flipping it and now tying them down to get them to commit. That's what a tie down is.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Good job. Do you want to try it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll talk about the market. So just I hear the market's changing. What's going on with the real estate market?
Yes, the real estate market is changing like everything else, but change can be really good for us. The change is shifting a little bit more for the buyer market, and since you're interested in buyer, wouldn't you want to jump in at this time?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make sense to you?
That's great. Nice job. That was perfect.
Nice.
Was that too many words?
No, it's
That was
not.
great.
And again, when we're, I'm a firm believer, a lot of this it's all question based, but I feel you have to give first before you can get. I feel that you have to give value, share some facts, talk about the market. That's what we actually have some of the stats written up here on the board from yesterday's listing presentation training. But some of them, just to talk about it, is the inventory increased to 1.75 is the absorption rate. That's almost 2 months inventory in Camarillo, okay? That's a 49% increase from the same time last year. That's a pretty big increase in terms of inventory, okay? The other thing is the prices for list price was down 7% from last year. So the list price was higher starting last year. And now I think it was over $1 million. Now it's down to like in the 900,000s. I didn't write the exact number. For the median price, it actually increased 3.25% for, again, the list price, not the sold price. So the median list price is at $824,950 for Camarillo, okay? The average sold price is at $935, which is up 9.42% from last year. So that's almost a 10% increase in appreciation, which is still really high. The average for the long term for real estate is 3%. For all the ups and downs, it's a 3% appreciation. So north of that is still good. So if you're speaking to a seller, you can say, look, the average sold price is still up 9.42% from last year. So that's a great time to sell. Yes, we're seeing a shifting market, right? We're not seeing 15, 20 offers come in, but we're still seeing appreciation. So if you're thinking about selling, you want to do it now. The one point I didn't bring up yesterday when I was talking about the cycle is last time that the market crashed, when it started around 2006, right? 2004, 2005, 2006, prices were jumping. Very similar to what we saw recently. When the market started shifting and crashed, it took if you bought in 2006, it took 14 years to get back up to those prices again. So if people are on the fence about selling, the question you want to ask them is, are you willing to ride another cycle, which could take another 14 years, okay, to recover? Because it's typically 5 to 7 years of growth, 5 to 7 years of decline. We know the bottom of the market was what years? Do you remember from yesterday? What was the bottom of the market? What years was the very bottom?
2008.
2008 to
11.
11. So 2008 to 11 was the trough. It's called the trough, the bottom of the market. So from 2011 up, we're already up. Now it's 2022. That's 11 years later. So that's 4 years past what should have been the growth phase. It should have already been coming back down, right? But then we had COVID hit. We had really low interest rates. So it created a new bubble. I know it's a little chilly in here. I don't keep you awake, right? You guys can move around if that helps too. I'm just standing up. Everybody's just shaking in here. This information is just so riveting, right? You guys are just getting chills. I know, you're ready to take over the world. Let's do it. So 2011 was the bottom. 5 to 7 years later puts you at about 2018. We're in 2022. So we're at the end of the growth phase, going into the hyper supply phase. Hyper supply means that they feel like they missed the boat. Sellers feel like they missed the peak. So now they're trying to all hurry up and get their house on the market. And we're not at that true hyper supply yet, but it's showing those trends, right? Almost a 49% increase in inventory from last year this time. So more and more sellers are like, we got to get our house on the market now. But now also for those sellers, part of what was preventing them is they didn't see enough inventory. Now they're seeing more inventory and better homes, right? Some really nice homes are coming on the market. So it's a great time to buy. And that's what they want to hear is in your enthusiasm. So when you get that opportunity and you got somebody's interest, if they ask you a real estate question, they're interested. So now what they're listening to is your conviction. That's why when we talk about your tap, your promise, whatever your promise is, has to be convincing. And if it's convincing, they'll meet with you. If it's convincing, they're going to sit down and explore those options, right? The tie down, it's an important concept, but you want to use it very minimally, because if you do it every single sentence or every fact or whatever, it's way too, too much. It's a turn off, right? They're gonna be like, all right, stop trying to tie me down.
Yeah.
But if you do it once, you can close with it. Okay, so you want to be thoughtful about when you use these tie downs. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so pattern interruptions. So these are statements, questions, or events that interrupt the flow or the direction of the conversation. Now this is a very important skill. This is when you're trying to connect with somebody and they're talking about soccer, they're talking about their dogs, they're talking about their kids, which is important, right? Their kids are starting school's coming up, right? So we're buying all these supplies. So it's going off topic, right? So you want to keep them in the zone of real estate. Or we start with Ford, family, occupation, recreation, and dreams, and we start hearing their story about what's going on in their life. And then once we hear what's going on in their life, at some point we use a pattern interruption. And then we're able to transition it very smoothly, showing, not being rude, like that's not important, I'm here to talk to you about this, right? But you do it in a way that's so smooth that they don't even realize what just happened. But then you flip it and say, let me ask you this, right? So you say, well, as important as that is, the end of that your kids are playing softball at a high level, that's fantastic. I love the time that I get to spend with their kids. As important as that is, let me ask you this. Why is having a big yard important for you? And then I'm going to just lead down that direction, right? So I just took it from where the conversation was going, brought it right back on track again. Let me ask you this. What's most important with that next move? With that next house, whatever it is you're looking for, what does that dream house look like? What does the perfect house look like? If money wasn't an issue, right, and you could just pick and choose whatever home you wanted, what would it look like? So that's the pattern interruptions, okay? So they ask questions like, how long have you lived at this address? At this address, so you're door knocking. And they're talking about, oh, I love this neighborhood, it's the greatest, we do these parties, we do all this stuff, we're all so close. That's awesome, I hear great things from other neighbors too. Let me ask you this, how long have you lived at this address, right? And I just pulled it right back into, they're talking about parties, they're talking about these other things, now I'm making it specific to them. And then what could I follow up with after I ask them, how long have you lived at this address? What's another question you can say, door knocking, cold calling.
Where did you happen to move from?
Where did you happen to move from?
What
else?
What brought you
What
to this
brought you
area?
here?
What brought you here, right? What else?
You have plans of moving anytime soon?
There you go. Do you have plans to move in anytime soon? Is there anybody you want to see move out of this neighborhood? That's always my icebreaker. I'm door knocking. I'll just say, hey, is there anybody you want to see leave the neighborhood? Right? I'll knock their door right now. And what's interesting is you'll come across somebody that will tell you everything about the neighborhood the second you crack that question. And they typically laugh if they heard what you said, right? And they're like, yeah, actually that person right there is a pain. And they're always yelling and screaming. If you can replace them, that'd be great. Well, that's what I'm going to try to do. Do you know anybody else who's thinking of buying and selling, right?
Yeah, and then they come down actually.
Yeah. So when your home sells, where would you move to next? Why are you selling? When do you need to be in your new home? So timing question. So always remember, as you're going to close, you want to know about timing. Timing is a big one. okay? It's something we forget quite a bit. And when you always ask in terms of timing, that's important. What do you expect an agent to do to sell your home? Why didn't your home sell? What plans do you have now? How did you choose this area? So you guys hit every single one. Okay, and that's just listed script, right? Very similar to the just listed script. Okay, so level shifts. You guys, have you heard of level shifts? Transitional statements is actually more of what I was discussing. So pattern interruption statements, questions, or events that interrupt the flow or the direction of the conversation. This is very similar to transitional statements. A statement used to make a smooth transition from one topic of discussion to another. So having said that, so as important as that is, with that being said, having said that, knowing that, let me ask you this, let's switch gears, okay? So that's a nice, polite way of, you always repeat and affirm, right? They say, you know, our kids love soccer, your kids love soccer, that's great. So I repeated, I affirmed that that was great, I didn't make that wrong. Let me ask you, or as important as that is that the main reason why you want a nice large yard? So it needs to be a flat yard, is that correct? Yes, I do. Tell me a little bit more about that. What else are you looking for in a home? Okay. So level shifts. A statement used to interrupt and summarize what someone has said. For example, your prospect says, we don't want to list with a real estate agent. You reply, what I really hear you saying is that you want to net as much money as possible on the sale of the home, correct? Okay, so that's a level shift. So what I hear you saying is, in other words, it sounds like what is most important is. So a level shift is the commission objection handler, right? And they say, so Nina, I have a friend that will do it for 3.5% commission.
He'll do it for 3.5 commission. That's great, but what concerns me is the selling your home is the most important, one of the 5 more important things in your life.
Okay.
And are you doing that like a favor to a friend, or are you doing that to protect your family?
Well, I mean, 3.5%, that's a really good commission rate, so I'm trying to save some money, you know, when we sell our home, but also do a favor for a friend.
I completely understand that. I'll probably do the same. I want to save some money for my family too.
Uh-huh.
But as important as that is,
Uh-huh.
to have a friend,
Good morning. Uh-huh. Yeah.
what do you think then?
That's
Yeah,
okay.
that's
So no, so what we're going over is level shifts right now, right? So what you're
I hear
trying.
you saying,
Uh-huh.
you want to save some money in the commission. But let me tell you that.
So think of a shift. So real quick. So good job. But what you want to practice, their focus is on expense. Okay?
Yeah.
So it's the cost of paying commission. 5%, 6%, 7%, whatever the cost is, right? At $500,000, 5%, that's $25,000. All right? So their cost is $25K. Now we know that if they go a route like that and try to cut costs, that actually could hurt what they walk away with,
Yeah.
right? So even though they're trying to save here, we know there's certain companies out there that won't charge much on the listing side. So they only have to pay 2.5 plus a flat fee. So they pay about $13,000. Well, if nobody shows the property, if nobody, and you're not getting multiple offers, and the house just sits and nobody's really, you're doing all the work yourself, you're not getting any guidance, now you're getting hit on repairs, now you're getting hit on appraisal, right? You have appraisal issues, that savings could cost you tens of thousands of dollars, right? If not 50 to 100,000. So what you want to shift their focus is from their cost, their pain, to what the benefit is by working with you. So the transition, the level shift, if you ask me the commission question, you say something to the effect of, I have a friend that'll do it for 3% commission, and then my response is, that's great. You got a friend that'll do it for 3% commission, right? I actually know somebody who'll do it cheaper than that. So let me ask you this. What I hear you saying is that you want to walk away with the most amount of money in your pocket. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, so this is all about keeping more money in your pocket, right?
yes.
Well, what if I can promise you that by working with me, that I can guarantee that you're going to walk away with more money working with me than anybody else that's out there selling real estate? Would that be something that you're interested in?
Yeah.
Okay, well let me show you that my clients walk away with more money on top of the repairs I've saved. My last 10 clients have paid less on the listing side. 5 of them did it as is and didn't pay a dime, right? The most any of my sellers on my last 10 sellers paid was $1,500. Now the market is shifting, it's changing. So we may have to pay out close to $10,000, but I've heard others paying $20,000, $30,000, and $40,000 in credits right now in this type of market. Do you feel it's important to have a strong negotiator on your behalf?
Absolutely.
Okay. So what are you looking for in an agent that, you know, to help you sell your home? Are you looking for a strong negotiator? Share with me, what are your expectations in the agent that you look to hire?
My goal is to make the most of the money to sell my home.
To walk away with as much money as possible, right?
Yeah.
Well, my promise to you is if you hire me, that I will protect your equity. I'll protect every dollar from the very beginning while we're negotiating offers towards a successful close of the transaction, which again, we're gonna have to overcome. I can tell just looking around the house, there's gonna be things that are gonna come up in this home inspection report, which is common. It's what comes up, right? But you'll have me in your corner negotiating on your behalf. Is that what you want?
Yeah.
Great. Well, let's take care of some paperwork. Let's get started now. Okay.
How about if you don't sell it for the price then you say?
If I don't sell it for the price I say, well, nobody can guarantee the price. Okay. All we can do is communicate what's happening in the marketplace. But the good news is, if you're not happy with what you're walking away with, what do you need to net again in the sale of your home to move out of this property and purchase your next? How much is it that you need to net? Just saying.
300.
300,000. Okay. So if we don't net 300K, the good news is this listing agreement is just your commitment to work with me and to hire me to represent you. Now, you're not committed to sell your home until you get the terms that you're looking for. And those are the offers that we present. Once you sign off on that offer, now you're locked in to sell your home. So the good news is I'm going to get you an estimated net sheet once these offers come in, so you know exactly what you're going to walk away with. And if you're not happy with all the terms, then we don't do anything. I don't get paid anything. We don't sell your home, and you're good to go. Is that fair enough? For however you want to close with that, you know what I mean? So I didn't close it the way I wanted to, but you get what I'm saying, right? So I'm going to take, so this is getting to, there's two main things when you're closing. You want to either eliminate the risk, so you're minimizing risk. People are either risk focused or they're benefit focused, meaning they're looking for the experience, right? What extra benefits or positive experiences will I get by purchasing this home or selling this home, right? I'm getting out of an HOA situation where they're writing me all the time, telling me I need to maintain the yard, I need to cut the weeds, I need to paint the house. I'm just tired of it. Tired of these rules. I have limited parking, I can't have guests over, whatever it is, that's a hot button, right? So they're getting out of that experience into a better experience. So it's one of those two things. So once I discover what button, it's called a hot button. Once I discover what your pain is, then I can understand and make sure that I ask questions around that and press that, right? To make sure that that emotion is going to help you take action. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I do it through discovery, and it's self-discovery. If I ask you questions now, you discover for yourself. So I didn't make you wrong on the commission question. What I'm trying to do is help really educate you, because you don't know what you don't know. So you think that you're just doing what every seller should do in negotiating commissions, right? I'm just standing up for myself right now, right? I'm just standing up for, it has been freezing in here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys want to stand around. It's actually helping standing, so if you guys want to stand, the ladies would like to stand, you're welcome to. But does that make sense? So I'm just shifting. So the whole point of this with the level shift is practicing. What I hear you saying is that you want to put the most in your pocket. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Great. Well, when we get together, I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to keep more money in your pocket. And that's as simple as you need to keep it. I went into a little bit more depth because I will do that.
Yeah.
When I'm meeting with the seller, if I can tell they are stuck on the commission, I'm going to ask them some strong questions. I'm going to make sure that they realize that I know what my value is, but I don't say that. I hear agents say it all the time. I know what my worth is. I'm not going to reduce my commission. Don't ever say that. You don't need to say that.
I like the one that you said one time, like, I work for free until I sell your home. So what's the most important for you? What I get paid or what you're gonna put in your pocket?
You can say that. I heard one strong agent who's been doing it a long time. She said, look, you don't pay me a commission. You as the seller don't pay me a commission. It comes out of the net proceeds, right? It only comes if a buyer gives you the offer that you're looking for. The buyer's the one who's paying me the commission, right? It's coming out of the proceeds, but if you don't get the terms that you're looking, if a buyer never comes to the table, you never pay me anything. The only way I get paid is if that buyer performs and closes on their end and you get the money in your bank, then I get paid. Otherwise, you're not paying me anything, right? So you figure out a way, again, take away the risk of them committing to working with you. And I separate between a listing agreement and offers. And I do this in my presentation. If I can tell they're hesitant in signing paperwork, I have to explain that. What I used to say, and I don't say it anymore because I've had it bite me before, is I used to say, look, I know it's hard to decide, who you want to work with. And I know a lot of people are going to tell you things that sound good, right? And you don't know me from the next person. So I promise you, if you're not satisfied with the way that I work and, our relationship, then we'll rip the contract up. And I would close them every single time I said that, right? The problem is, if you're in a transitional market like this and they're getting impatient because they think it's going to sell in the first week or 2 weeks, I don't want them to think they have an out. So I have to be a stronger closer now because I don't use that anymore. Early in my career, I used it all the time and it worked. And I would just say, if you're not happy with the way that I work, if I don't do what I say I'm going to do, and I'm putting a good faith effort out there, right, and you're just still not satisfied, it's just not what I promised you, then we'll rip it up. I'm not going to hold you to the contract. And that makes it easier. They're like, okay. Every single time it's just like, all right, let's go. They're willing to do it because now they know you've already said you'll rip the contract up if they're not completely satisfied. So I know a lot of agents who use it all the time, and it works in terms of getting people to sign it. But as I got a little bit more seasoned through my career, I realized I don't even want to give them that out. If they choose me, we're committed for 6 months, right? Especially in a market like this. So your minimum is 6-month contract. That's an objection you want to practice too. So we're gonna do it right now. So right on the spot. There you go. So,
I've never practiced this one.
You've never done the 6 months?
No.
Well, that's a good time to practice it. So you know what, Monica, you sound great, but I only want to do a 30-day contract.
You only want to do a 30-day contract.
Uh-huh.
No, honestly, I haven't.
That's
no
okay.
idea
So what? So go ahead.
So,
go ahead.
okay, well, I wanted to just talk about it, but.
No, let's go. You're gonna do it. So, Leanna, you sound great, but you know what? I just gotta be real. I just don't trust salespeople. So we only want to do a 30-day contract.
Okay, only 30 days. Do you mind if I share with you why we require to do a 6-month minimum contract?
Sure.
So, are you aware with what type of market we're going through right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's still a seller's market.
Okay, and you're right. It still is technically a seller's market. However, what we are noticing is we're seeing longer days on market.
Uh-huh.
A couple months ago, if we listed your home, you might get an offer within the first weekend. However, just to be safe and to play it safe and to make sure we're not just accepting the first offer we get, we want to expose your home for as long as we can. And quite frankly, to play it safe and to get the terms that you want, let's just write down tentatively 6 months, see how it goes. If you have cold feet, we can always renegotiate and go from there. But I feel it's safe to get your home sold for top dollar, that we should at least do a minimum of 6-month contract. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that was a good explanation. Nice job.
Okay.
So, a couple things that
How
you
do
want.
handle
No.
that?
What's that? No, it's
How
good.
do you-
So first, the easy one, the easiest objection handler it's our company policy.
Okay.
So that's easiest. Sorry, that's our brokerage policy, minimum 6-month contract. And it's the broker who owns the listing. Unfortunately, it's not the agents that do, it's the broker does. So you can say broker policy, minimum 6-month contract. So, and I know many top agents that's how they respond. They just say, hey, it's our broker policy. And they're like, okay. And they typically give in and just do
really?
it. Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
If they're like, no, that's
That'd be harder.
ridiculous. I won't do it. No, I'm saying,
Yeah.
you'll be surprised. A lot of times when people hit you with these things, they're testing you. Sometimes they're testing you. Other times they're just seeing how you respond.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a strong negotiator or do you just fold? Are you workable, right? Will you negotiate? Are you agreeable? So they're testing you. So a lot of times these people will say it, they want to be in control. They want to call the shots. They want to call it on the price. They want to call it on commission. They want to call it in terms of how long the contract is. So I had a guy, as I'm going through and I'm showing my stats, it showed that I had an average of like 12 days on the market. At a time that in Newbury Park, it was average days on market was 109 days. That was the average, was 109 days. There were 17 cancellations out of 30 homes, between 700 and a million. 17 canceled or expired. Average days on market's 109. My stats showed 13 days. It was less than 2 weeks. So as I show it to, he's a highly analytical, so I show it to him, he's like, you can sell it in 2 weeks. Why do you need a 6-month contract? Like everything I gave him, he found an opening and I had to be strong with it. And I said, well, that's great that you say that. If you didn't, so as you know, it takes 30 days, number one, to close the transaction. Remember what I say in the 4 pillars, to oversee the transaction. On average, we have to sell each home twice, right? So I need to make sure that we have enough time that our contract doesn't expire if I put this in escrow. So if somebody asks for a 30-day, well, if I found a buyer today, I still couldn't, my contract would expire, right, before the 30-day close. So you need minimum, so you can work it backwards and say, okay, so average days on market right now is about 21 days, okay? So on average, if we price this right and we do what everybody else is doing in this market, it's gonna take 3 weeks to sell your home. Now you got minimum 30 to 45 day escrow, minimum, right? So at least that's 3 weeks plus another, let's just say 5 weeks on the shorter side, that's 25 days, right? So 25 to 35 days. So that's 30, that's 55, that's almost already 2 months. That's if we take 3 weeks to find the house, it closes with the very first buyer, okay? Now, we also know that there's a lot of contingent situations. So people have a home to sell. Well, what if it takes them another 3 weeks? Throw another 3 weeks on top of that. What if that one falls out? Throw another 3 weeks on top of that. And it gets harder the longer days on market that you are. So all I'll say is, look, it's a 6-month agreement. So just like you're interviewing and deciding who you want to represent you, I also need to be careful with who I commit myself with in terms of contracts. And I typically will only work with 5 to 7 clients at a time, right? And what I mean by that is under contract. Between listings, buyer broker agreements, I'm gonna give my focus and my energy to about 5 to 7 buyers or sellers at one time. Now, in real estate talk, this is what I say to my clients. In real estate, in reality, I'm always looking for buyers and sellers, right? So I can have 10 sellers waiting that are future listings that aren't included in my 5 to 7. I can have buyers in the pipeline that I've met a year ago or 6 months ago or just last weekend that I'm not gonna stop at 5 to 7. I'm gonna keep getting them pre-approved, keep doing buyer consultations with them. I'm gonna keep meeting with them. I'm gonna set appointments. I'm gonna do my 1 appointment a day. So I'm meeting with 3 to 5 people every single week, right? So obviously if I'm doing a good job of prospecting consistently, I'm not gonna stop at 5 to 7, but I'm always feeding that pipeline. And in reality, I'm never showing more than 5 to 7 buyers at one time. It's almost impossible. It gets really hard once you start. People will do it, but it gets really difficult once you get past 5 to 7 buyers. You can handle more listings than you can handle buyers, because the listings, you're gonna do the work up front. But on an average listing, if you're ever trying to figure out where to spend your time, average listing, it's about 3 hours of preparation versus an average buyer. And this is in a good market, a decent market, about 30 hours. So you got 3 versus 30 hours for the same result, right? And they could not like the property, they could not, you may not get your offer accepted, all these different things, and then those hours just continue to compound. So if you want control over your schedule, it's becoming a stronger listing agent. Eventually, your buyers are gonna finance the time for you to figure out how to be a strong listing agent. But if you want control of your time and your schedule and your hours and the discipline, it's learning how to become a strong listing agent so that you can take control over your schedule. You can work Monday through Friday. You can actually take weekends off. You can actually get to that point. You can do it and work on Saturdays, show some property, prospect till about 12 o'clock. That was George's schedule. So Monday through Friday was, he's doing 8 hours a day, so he did it every single day. But if you're doing it 80% of the time, 4 days out of the week, you're solid. So you have to figure out, okay, so what is a working day? And it's prospecting and protecting your prospecting time just like you would a listing appointment. That you're not gonna miss a listing appointment. Well, if you're not prospecting every single day, and don't do it at the end of the day. You know, I heard it in Armani, he had a great morning ascent, so it's not, he says for himself it works better later in the afternoon. What I know is I'm my strongest before noon, okay? And I like the way Tom Ferry actually explains it, is he compares it to pulling a rubber band back. The further you pull the rubber band back is like the earlier in the morning you wake up. So if you want to fly through your day, you start as early as you can and you let go. And now you're flying through the day. So if you're strong when you wake up, protecting your mindset, working out, meditating, doing the things, journaling, coming in here, practicing, role playing, prospecting, by the time you hit 9:30, where other agents are just showing up at noon, you've already ran through your day. You're strong. And then now when you're prospecting between 9 and 11 o'clock, you're solid. You're rocking and rolling. You already practiced. We've already got all the wiggles out. So when you actually call somebody, you're like, all right, this is cool. You know, I've already got hit with the 6-month contract, right? I already know what to say on that. So just very simply, if I say, I only want to do a 3-month contract, Monica, but yeah, I'll list with you just 3 months.
Okay, Brandon, so you'll list with me, but you feel more comfortable with a 3-month contract. I'm so sorry, Brandon, but we can't do that. My company policy is actually a 6-month contract. Is that okay with you?
Sure.
Okay.
That's all you have to do. So just real simple, and you don't need to apologize too. I mean, it was good. It's nice to be empathetic and caring, but you don't need to apologize. You just say something to the fact, and it's kind of hard with the repeating and affirm, right, on that, because you're already kind of validating where their focus is, but you want to show you're listening and not making them wrong. So just if you hit me with the same thing as, you know, just try it, and we'll just flip it. I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible.
Brandon, I'll list with you, but I only want to do a 3-month contract.
A 3-month contract. I understand that. You know, our company policy is actually a 6-month contract. So for us to work with our clients, it's minimum 6 months, and that's because on average we have to sell every home twice in this market. Okay, so we want to have make sure we have enough time so that the contract doesn't expire once we've found that motivated buyer. Does that make sense?
Why would you have to sell my home twice?
Because there's a lot of fallouts right now. So because of the shifting market and more inventory coming in, there's more competition. So buyers are getting cold feet, interest rates are going up. So there's things that are happening. So to make sure I protect you, I need minimum 6-month contract, right? And then another thing that I can say with it too is, have you ever, so one of the things the public doesn't realize is that when a contract expires, that your information is sold to every real estate agent that pays for those leads. So the second you show cancellation or expire, you're gonna get bombarded with phone calls by agents, okay? So to prevent that from happening, I need at least a 6-month contract. Does that make sense? Because if I do a cancellation after 1 month, now you're gonna get hit up by 20, 30 agents trying to list your home of why that home didn't sell. So there's certain things that are in place and they just don't know, the public doesn't know. But all you have to say is it's company policy. That's it, okay? All right, so we hit transitional statements. Statements and questions, I'm so glad you brought that up. Thanks for thinking about that. I really want to know. That's the very reason we need to get together. Can I tell you why that concerns me? May I share with you? Tell me a little bit more about that. Help me understand what, how, where, when. Share with me. How is that important to you? So a lot of these, when it says statements and questions, to me this is like the promise, right? This is the conviction. This is the part that you want to practice and do it time and time again. And the most common one I'll use is, well, that's the very reason why we need to get together. Or that's the reason we need to get together. So anything they bring up, whether good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. They say, well, you know what, I'm really not sure now's the best time to sell. Well, that's the very reason we need to get together, okay? Mm-hmm. If they bring up whatever excuse, whatever they're unsure about, or what they know that they want, well, that's the very reason we need to get together. What works better for you, afternoons or evenings? And that's the alternate close. When we say afternoons or evenings, right? Thursday at 4, Friday at 6. If they answer either of those as a yes, right? What is that? It's a commitment. It's a close. It's an appointment, right? So we give them 2 choices. If you just say, well, I'm available all week, what works good for you? How does that work? Oh, well, let me call you back. I don't really know right now. Let me check on Thursday. So that's why I like where you said the tentative appointment. That is a tie down, and that's getting them to commit when they give you the excuse, well, I need to talk to so-and-so. Okay, well, my schedule actually fills up pretty quickly. I want to make sure I make time for you. Always make it about them, not just my schedule. It's about them. Okay? So I want to make sure I block some time out for you, Monica. Let's tentatively put Friday at 4 o'clock. And then I'll check with you on Thursday after you get a chance to speak with your spouse, do what you want to do, right? And then I'll confirm. And if it doesn't work, we'll reschedule. Does that work? Yeah. Right? And I'm taking the pressure off, tying it down with the appointment. Okay? Any questions online? I know I got Era and Iris online. Do you guys have any questions or feedback?
None so far.
Not yet? Okay. Have we haven't confused you thoroughly yet, have we?
No.
Good. So this is a little bit, I'm turning it more into a training style than what we typically do, but if you guys want, let's try, what would you rather practice, the objection handling, or would you rather practice the listing presentation, like the intro to it and doing parts of it? You want to do objection handling? You guys like the objections? Okay. All right, let's practice what we did a little bit of last week then. Start with you, Monica. You're looking at me. Start on this side. See, I'm going to put you on camera right here for everybody to see too. Okay, so Monica, so let's stand up because I know it's freezing in here. I'll get some. Okay. So let's start off with what we practiced last week. So you're calling me up. We'll just start with the objection. The objection is going to be, so you know what, I'm going to hold off on buying right now. I hear the market's going to crash.
So Brandon, you're looking to buy right now, but you're hearing the market's going to crash. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. Well, Brandon, I'm just curious. Are you currently renting or owning?
Renting.
You're renting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And how much do you currently pay for rent, if you don't mind me asking?
We pay about $3,200 a month.
$3,200 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm just curious, Brandon, I mean, if there were to be a really good opportunity out there for you to buy right now, would would you like to move forward?
I would. I just, the prices are still really high. I want to be in Camarillo. We want to keep our kids in the schools here in Camarillo. So I don't know how realistic it is. But yeah, I mean, if we could, yes, I would.
Okay, so you are looking to buy, and ideally you'd like to stay in Camarillo because of the schools?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Brandon, I mean, I think that's the very reason we should get together. There's some amazing programs out right now, and the market is shifting a little bit, but if anything, it makes it even better for you because you have a lot more options as far as, what property you'd like to choose from.
Okay.
Does that sound good? Are you available mornings or afternoons?
Afternoons.
Afternoons. How does this afternoon around 5:30 work for you?
Yeah, let's do it. Awesome. Good job. Yeah. Any
It's
feedback?
colder when you stand up.
It's colder up there. That's cold. That's all right. So what did you guys think? Just feedback?
Yeah, that was really good.
Good.
Well, I sometimes I did the peak training, and one thing Russ taught me is like, you say what they say with like almost in disbelief, like, oh, how long have you lived here? 5 years. 5 years. So maybe when he says like 3,200, like, wow, 3,200. Do you mind providing? Or yeah. So it kind of, in a way, like, oh, is that a lot? Am I paying too much? So maybe it could excite them if there was a better opportunity for less.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah.
I like that. No, that's
that
good.
is good
That's
feedback.
good.
Yeah, I
feedback.
have a question here. If you go to that 3,200, it's good to say like, do you know with the 3,200 you can buy that much property? Let me show you a program or
Right.
just
Yeah. No, that's great. It's $3,200 a month. Wow, that could be a mortgage payment. Have you spoken to anybody about what you potentially qualify for? No, I haven't. We've kind of held up. And they'll say, well, what's prevented you from pursuing ownership in the past? And it's like I'm trying to. What are their goals? I look at everything like coaching. What are they trying to accomplish? They want to own a home, right? So what's kept them from owning a home? We got to discover that. Well, I don't know how my credit is. I don't know what my job situation's like. I'm not so confident on this. We're going through this right now, or we just had another child, or whatever it is, right? But they're going to tell you. And then once you discover, you say, no, that's great. No, I completely understand that. you know, what's been very interesting is that, you know, there's some people that had no idea that they're actually ready for a home right now, right? And the good news is, even if you're not ready right now, that you can speak to a professional who's going to put you on track so that you're getting professional assistance to get you ready to purchase, whether 6 months, a year, or 2 years from now. Would that be something that you're interested in? So you see how I'm slaying through the objections, the excuses, but I'm showing them, I'm not making them wrong, I'm just showing them a way for them to discover and become aware that maybe it's painless to have a conversation right now. And that's what I said. It's like a 5 to 10 minute conversation with my loan officer. He can actually speak to you on the phone, ask you a few questions, find out roughly what you make, what kind of debts you have, and tell you ballpark what you qualify for, right? Would you be open to that? Great. All right, let me add him right now. And then I'll just add him. And then I'll call him up, put it on speaker. Hey, so-and-so, I'm introducing you to here. You know, this person's thinking about buying. Do you mind if you have some questions? And then I'll ask the buyer, do you want me on the conversation? Would you like me to step out? Most times they're okay with me being in it. Sometimes they want to have a private conversation. I'm okay with that. But I'll do that in my initial buyer consultation. Or if I'm on the phone and I'm prospecting, it just comes out. You'll see, the more you practice, it gets so easy. These conversations get so easy, but you gotta practice them, you gotta know what to say, okay?
It's wrong to show like the program, the lawyer's program, and you can show
The
them
lawyers?
right there. Yeah.
No, it's, I know what you're saying with that. The lawyers where it shows
Yeah,
like
we're gonna show
payment,
like how
what
much
you
can
qualify for.
qualify.
Thank you.
I would use that as a tool at an open house to buy time if I need to. Like if I'm having a hard time connecting and I need an excuse to try to, well, let me try to figure this out, and I'm gonna ask them more questions. So I'll use it as a tool for that. I use it as a tool to get somebody's information, their phone number, just to send them something. But I'll make very clear that there are numbers that loan officers know about that we don't even know about. That tool's not gonna, that's just like going online. People will go online to see what they qualify for all the time.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, oh, I can buy an $800,000 house. How do you know that? Well, I looked online and I ran, Zillow. But I ran my estimator, and based on my income, and you know, I can afford that price. So you can, really. Okay, well, you know, you may want to check, because we've seen where it's been different once you speak to a loan officer, right? Well, we don't want to run our credit. That's usually the biggest hesitation. We don't want to run our credit.
Yeah.
Well, make sure that when you speak to the loan officer, you let them know that. But do you know what your credit is? Yeah, we know it's really strong. Okay, that's great. So all I'm trying to do is take them from point A to point B. Where are they currently at? What's their next step? Everybody's got a next step. You got to identify that. And as you're prospecting, you need to write down, okay, they're here right now. They haven't been pre-approved. That's my next step. But for me, my next step is to meet them face to face. I'm going to meet them face to face. I want them to look at me as the leader. So I'm going to meet with them, speak with them, find out what they're looking to do, ask them about why homeownership is important to them, do all the discovery, and then I'm also going to educate them on the process. Okay? How to get ready to purchase a home, as well as going to, I just see everybody just frozen over here. So, all right, let's get into a little bit. I want to do a little bit more role play before we jump in, but I wanted to make sure we went over that so you understand the different skills while we're going through this. Okay? So we'll hit some more objections. Nina, you ready?
Yep.
Okay. So Nina, I hear that, you know, the interest rates are really high right now. And we're just going to wait, you know, till the rates come down before we purchase. Or it's the same as the market's going to crash. It's the same. That's the same type of. We're just going to wait. Okay.
Yeah, let me.
That's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so let me ask you, Brandon. that it's true though. The rates are going up. But that's something that actually it's healthier than when the rates were so low.
Okay.
Because for the same reason, then you can sell it for more. You have to pay much more to buy a new property.
Okay.
So actually, those rates, 7% are healthy rates. I've seen when the rates were like 17%, and that is way too high. But
Okay.
7% is a great rate.
Okay.
So
let's do. So remember the transitional statements, or where we shift their focus, right? Remember,
Yeah,
leaders help people focus on the right things. you're trying to be persuasive on the interest rates. And it's almost like you can't win that battle, okay? So where you want to shift them to is whenever people talk about prices being too high or interest rates being too high, what do we want to shift them on?
Let me ask her.
Monthly payment, okay? Just like even a car, think of the sticker price. Don't focus on that, focus on the monthly payment. That's where we get them to shift. So you have to ask the question, what do you want to ask?
So let me ask you that. What's the most important about you owning the home? About your
That's
monthly
good.
payment or?
Yeah, so you want to lead them towards monthly payment,
Oh, okay.
okay? So it's not even open-ended. This one we're going to be very specific, okay? So I'm going to say something. So if you're hesitant in buying right now based on the market conditions, or you hear it's not a good time to buy, I'm going to say, well, that's interesting, or that's great. You know, you want to hold off right now until there's a better time to buy. Let me ask you this: what's the monthly payment that you feel comfortable with? Okay, does that make sense? And then you say $2,400 a month, $3,000 a month, $3,000 a month. Okay, that's great. So you believe you can handle $3,000. Well, that's a mortgage for a lot of people. There's opportunities out there that actually people are purchasing for less than $3,000 a month. Really? In this market with these high interest rates, yes. If you wear a down payment assistance program, there's all these different products that are out there. That's the very reason we need to get together. Okay? So let's try it one more time.
Okay.
So now I'm going to say, well, the interest rates are just too high. We're just going to hold off right now on buying.
But I hear you saying you wanted to still wait a little bit longer, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Let me ask you that. What make you believe then?
It's okay. So again, another on that objection, first thing, we don't make them wrong, right? So if they say we just want to hold off right now, or we want to take our time, or we're just looking, all that excuse, the response always is, well, that's great. We work with our clients at their pace, okay? So that's how we acknowledge it right away. So that's great. We work with our clients at their pace. Let me ask you, what monthly payment do you feel comfortable with? Okay? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you want to do it one more?
Yes.
Okay. So, you know what, we're just going to hold off right now. We think the market's going to crash, and we already see that homes are starting to sit a little bit longer, and there's a little bit more that's out there, and I've seen some price reductions. So, the market's going to crash, so we're just going to wait.
Okay, what I hear you saying, then you're convinced that the market is crashing.
Yep.
And that is true. The market is changing, definitely.
Uh-huh.
But let me ask you that. What monthly payment are you comfortable with?
Anything under $4,000 a month.
4,000 a month.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So absolutely, we can sit down and see how we can make that happen.
Okay.
What's best for you? Friday, 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock?
Let's do 1 o'clock.
Okay. I'll
Okay.
see you Friday at 1 o'clock.
Good. Good job. That was better. But what you did best on that is you shifted right to the monthly payment. And you didn't miss a beat with it. So that's why we have to practice it, so you know when they give you the hesitation that they don't want to buy right now because the interest rates are too high or the market is coming down, right? That the prices are coming down. We know that real estate is good for the long term. Okay? As I said, over the long term, you're always going to average 3% appreciation with the up and the down part of the market. So you can buy at the peak of the market and it drops all the way down. As long as you hold it for the long term and you can ride it out, you're going to make 3% in the long run over time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, if I discover I'm speaking to somebody and I know they need to move in 2 years from now, that's a different conversation. I'm going to say it's probably not the best time to buy. Okay? Now, if somebody's buying because they want to own a home and they don't want to get 60 days notice from their landlord, or they don't want to get a rent increase, or whatever the case is, right? And they want to take control over that, then it's utility aspect. As long as the monthly payment fits my budget and it fits my needs, it's always a great time to buy. And that's what we all have to believe as leaders. If you don't believe that, you're not going to be able to effectively lead people to their goals. Because even though we may be hesitant because we think the prices are coming down, right? Number one, nobody knows when those prices are going to come down. It should have happened in 2018. What happened to every buyer who didn't buy in 2019, 20, 21, 22? Do you think some of them regret? They all do.
Yeah.
And we all thought that peak of the market was in 2018. So nobody knows when the market's actually going to drop. But where I can, yeah, and this was the very first thing my dad taught me, he said, look, you always have to be able to look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the night and know you didn't trade your integrity, right, to just for a transaction or a deal. So the reason why I can do that is because I know I'm setting people up for success. I know they can handle the monthly payment. And even if they can't handle the monthly payment at some point, say somebody loses a job, something unexpected happens, as long as they can rent for more than what their mortgage is, they will never have to walk away from that home. They may have to move out and find another rental situation, right? But they can rent it out for higher than what their mortgage is. So if they can do that, now they're set up for success for the long term. Now, no matter what happens, job-wise, life-wise, anything, I will now have an asset that I can create wealth with and start earning, income and passive. And I mean, there's so many different ways that you can create wealth through real estate. So that's what you're trying to get to. Yes.
With Camarillo, with Brendan, the role play.
Yeah. What's going on? Are you talking to somebody else? Okay, I think so. Well, whenever you want to hop in, Iris. You ready? You ready to role play?
I am so sorry. I
No.
already answered your questions. He was doing role play here. I did have a question though.
Yeah, what's up?
Be ready for role play.
Yeah.
So if my client tells you like where you say like, oh well, what payment would you be comfortable with, and they say, I don't know, 2,500. I mean, we all know the reality is that there is hardly any 2,500 unless it's a little condo. So how would you answer to that if they're like, that's what they're comfortable with?
Well, the
Did
next.
you tell them to move to Bakersfield?
That's what I was saying 2 years ago, yeah. But basically, I'd ask more questions, right? And I'm going to find out. So it's the two things: monthly payment, what they can afford, and then utility, right? So we can't just assume that they're looking for a detached house. I know, what is going, is this thing at like 50 degrees?
It's at 62.
Oh, nice. Everybody's awake, so this is working. No coffee needed today. So utility, right? We don't want to assume that they need a 3-bedroom, that any of those things. So it may be somebody buying for themselves individually, and they just want to buy something, so maybe they can do a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom. Second thing is there's down payment assistance programs out there that I want all of us to make sure that we all understand really well, because this is going to be a huge tool in your tool belt that's going to help you at open houses. It's going to help you prospecting, where I have one of my first friends that was a client who called me up, and this was a very casual, I'll just bring it up real quick. This was a very casual like introduction. So we're at a birthday party, and for the girl that it was her party, she had a mutual friend that was looking to buy real estate. She was like, oh, talk to Brandon and Danielle. They sell real estate, right? And they're like, oh, okay. That's the first time we met them. So we talked. From that birthday party, we end up setting something up, and we go over to the collection. I think, what's it, Setabello's or Setabello's, right? So we meet at Setabello's. He brings a notepad just like that and a pen. So he was very studious, right? He shows up. We get some wine, and we're just talking about the process. So as we start, I said, you know what, based on what you're sharing with me, he had shared with me at the time his income was roughly about $90,000. Wife, I don't know if she was working at the time. I don't think she was, but she went to school. Eventually she started earning her income as well. So 90 for him. I knew about the down payment assistance program. And I just said, hey, you know what, you want to speak to a loan officer and find out, you may be ready now. So after we went through the whole process in terms of, okay, if you get your offer accepted, these are what your out-of-pocket expenses are, this is what an earnest money deposit is, these are your time frames, this is how you're protected. We went from beginning to end of that process, an escrow process, right? And I explained it to him. Then he was just like, all right, so what's the next step? So the next step is you're gonna wanna speak to a loan officer and see where you're at. You may be ready right now. He's like, dude, like, you're just giving me hope that maybe I can do this. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'm kind of worried about my credit, but you never know. So he calls the loan officer and he gets ready. Within the week, we're out looking at property, we write an offer, we get it accepted. So at this time, this is in North Oxnard. It's listed at $333,000. I lost Iris. I'm doing this example for you, Iris. All right, so we got to show it. Well, it's for everybody. But so So they bought at $333. HOAs around the time was about $350 a month. It's the Vineyards, North 8th Street. So right off Vineyard, North 8th Street. It's a single story. It's like 1,200 square feet, 3-bedroom property. So his total payment was $2,600 a month with HOAs included and his mortgage because he had down payment assistance. He only had to come out of pocket $5,000. Then I negotiated another $2,000 back in request for repairs. So he got a check for $2,000 back. So he was in for $3,000 and he bought his first home. And it was a 3-bedroom condo in North Oxnard at $2,600 a month, all in. So that was HOAs, everything included $2,600 a month. So we bought it right around $333. Less than 2 years later, it was right at the 2-year mark. We sold it, and I remember they wanted to get 412. 12 was like their lucky number. And I was like, it needs to be under 410.
It's not a jersey.
Right, but we did. But we did 412, and it sat, nothing was happening. So then we dropped it, I think, to 405, and we ended up getting 409. And then it's my lucky number, so that's what worked out, right? But we got 409, and at that time, that was one of the highest sales. So that $3,000 turned into $50,000 now. They walked away with $50K after commissions, after expenses. Now they have 50, and they bought in Central Camarillo. Bought that house at $595. It's a 4-bedroom, about 1,700 square foot on Landon. Not the greatest area in terms of it was backing up to like the commercial area there. So I know Mama didn't love the house. She didn't want to leave Oxnard either. She didn't want to leave. Her family was really close in the area. So it was always like I would have a conversation with the husband, he got all ready to go, then and they're just battling back and forth, and then finally they buy that house. So they got that at $595. We sold that at $770 2 years later. So it started with $3,000, turned into $150,000 in like 4 years. It's just crazy. And that's what home ownership can do. And it's like we couldn't have planned it any better than that. Well, they sold that one they bought in the Heights at $870. But now they both have incomes. His income increased. She has an income now. So now they have two. They paid off a car, knocked off like $500, $600 a month. And now at that time they could handle around $3,200 to $3,400 a month. Now without the car payment, they can handle $4,000, right? And their incomes were up higher. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that was the progression. So getting back to, is that Iris? We got you back, Iris. You missed half the story.
I know. Like, I don't know how that happened, but I mean,
So,
yeah,
so
it helps a lot.
the moral to the story is no matter what their situation is, I'm telling you, I helped a single mom once. She had 2 little ones. She had never had her own bed. She shared a bed with her 14-year-old son and her 2-year-old daughter. They were migrant workers. And she always shared a room, shared everything, right? Went through BCCDC at a time we used to do what was called acquisition rehab. So we purchased these foreclosed homes and made them available for low-income families, first-time buyers. They got preference, and we got one for her. We got a 3-bedroom condo over by Bolker. It was an upstairs unit, and they had no furniture, but they bought the place. She made less than $15 an hour. I know her income was less than $50,000, and she bought her first place. Got her condo, we got it, it was a huge story, and she came and spoke at one of our board meetings and just said, looks like they're starting another meeting, so this one shut off, so we lost Iris again. But we're on this other video here, so we're good. So basically, I mean, this one was cool, because she came, spoke at the board meeting, and she's real confident, she's getting emotional. She's like, look, she's all, my kids, like, they walk around now like they're all that, you know, because like we own our home. And she's like, we got our own bedroom. We don't have any beds, but we each have our own bedroom. And she's never had her own room, never had any of that. So once I saw that, and I saw the power of what that down payment assistance can do, it's insane. And her payment was less than $1,500 a month, everything included. The HOAs are like $400 a month. So that means her PITI was like $1,100. So that was a purchase probably around like $212,000. I think she bought, like it was right around $200K. So I had to master one bed. I mean, anything $350 and under, I had to know what was out there. I had to know 1-bedroom units, 2-bedroom units. There's deals out there, and most of these buyers, they would talk to an agent and they'd hear that they're approved for $250,000, $300,000, and they're like, sorry, I can't help you, you know. And it's just like, wow, really? Like, this person's trying to own a home. This is somebody trying to put a roof over your head. So you can never lose focus of why we're doing this. It's not about the commission. It's not about, those things come, but you just do right by people. You take care of people and you look out for them. And so if you hear $2,500 a month is all they can handle, it's not, we don't start cringing and thinking, oh, well, they're not going to be able to afford anything out here. You never know. You don't know. These programs are going to become more abundant. You know what I mean? So, does that help? I just wanted to,
Yeah.
and I use that story all the time, especially with buyers. Like if I'm teaching home buyer classes, I share that, and they all get inspired by that. And that's what you do, is you have to inspire people. You have to give them hope. You have to breathe life into them. They don't see it. They don't know. There was another, she was another mom who had been working for about 20 years or so. And she was Danielle's very first client. And Danielle was getting her license. She was mentoring through teaching. And she's like, I'd work with you, let's go out and check some places out. So I meet her at the first open house. It's at Camp Springs. And we're there, and she's like, so do I need, 20% down to be able to purchase something? I said, no. She's like, are you serious? I said, no. She's that's what my ex-husband told me, that I needed at least 20% down to ever purchase anything. I said, no, you can. I said, I brought up the $5,000. I said, I had a client, $5,000 bought their first place, right? I said, there's programs out there. So she bought FHA, 3.5% down. So, and she, at that time, it was about $420, $450. So she had about 15 to 20, but she didn't have 20%. 20% in the $400, that's $80,000 plus closing costs. So 20 versus 80 is two completely different things. Whole reason why I'm sharing this with you is people don't know what they don't know. And they don't realize that you can actually buy with very minimal down, especially with these down payment assistance programs. So what you'll start finding once you learn the program is that there's a lot more people you can help, which is awesome. There's more people that, when I started in the business, I thought you had to make at least $100,000 a year, minimum 6 figures, have no debt, right? And you're barely getting entry level into Cameron or whatever the case is. And for the most part, you probably need to be between 120 to 200,000. That's for most buyers, need to be somewhere in that ballpark. But that's not talking about the down payment assistance programs out there that actually gives you more grants and free money the less you make. You gotta fit in this box. You gotta make enough that you can handle a payment, but not too much money. So the sweet spot really is between 50, it's probably 60 now, about 60,000 to about 95. That's the sweet spot for down payment assistance programs. So that opens a whole new demographic, right? That's huge.
So Brian,
And how much they will save?
A lot. It's they have programs up to 150,000 down payment assistance. The forgivable grants is usually a 3-to-1 or a 4-to-1 match. So if you come in, they normally want about 7,500. So that 5,000 doesn't usually fly anymore. They need about 7,500 of their own money, and then they'll match 4-to-1. So it's like 22,000 in forgivable grants. As long as you live there for 5 years and it's a primary residence, then that money's forgiven, 20% each year. So if you're there for 3 years, then 60% of that grant is forgiven. That's free money. You live there for 5 years, you just made 23,000. Regardless of the market dropping, that loan's off. So they do what's called layered financing. So you'll have your main loan, which is they'll call it CalHFA. So CalHFA is something that applies to more people out there. That'll do moderate income. You have low income and you have moderate income. But the best program is for low income. That's 80% AMI or below. That's your area median income.
I asked one that worked for City of Camarillo, she says we don't have that.
The City of Camarillo probably doesn't. City of Oxnard, you don't want to deal with it. Even though that City of Oxnard has their own funds and money that's available, they almost kill the deals. They're really bad with money there in terms of how they handle it. VCCDC. So VCCDC, Ventura County Community Development Corporation .org. VCCDC. Yep. .org. They do homebuyer classes every single month, one in English, one in Spanish. Sometimes they'll do more. They have home ownership fairs. They do a lot. Most of it, they refer to themselves as the best kept secret in Ventura County. The good news is if you qualify through their assistance, you can buy any home you can qualify for. So it's not restricted to just low income properties. It's any home.
So how about somebody who is qualified for the rent the
Like the Section 8?
Section 8? Will be better for them to
It's challenging for them, because a lot of Section 8 would call us and reach out to us, and they typically don't have enough income. I don't wanna say it's impossible. I'd still point them in that direction and have them work. So that organization, it's called a HUD organization, so they get funding through the state. So not only do they have funds for down payment assistance on the loan side, they have counselors there that will do credit counseling. They'll help them build their savings. They'll help coach them. It's all free. It's all free services by the state. So they used to have 3 divisions. They had lending has always been their big one. Then they had counseling, and then the real estate portion, okay? They
So
don't do the real estate
I
anymore.
actually
Now it's
have
just lending
someone
and that.
that's been struggling with it, and I got them like, they kind of went through the pre-qualifying and the pre-approval process, and they qualified for a lot less than he expected. Should I send him this then? Like send him this way?
Yeah.
Like VCCDC?
What does he qualify for?
Like less than 300.
That's okay.
Okay.
So less than 300, they'd probably be a good fit though.
Really?
I'd say it may be able to go as high as 5,
Yeah.
maybe as high as 5,
What do you mean?
500,000.
Oh, that's more than.
That's
They
what
are
I
only
mean.
looking for a 2-bedroom.
No, I'm not saying for them. I'm saying like if you know buyers that are qualified for, I'd say from that 3 to about 500 mark,
Mhm.
I would send them to VCCDC.
Okay.
Even if it's less than 3.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're at like 2.
Yeah.
You know, some will look at the mobile home as an option, but you need more money down. It's higher
Yeah.
interest rates. It's a different beast,
Yeah, he is.
right? No, but VCCDC may be a good option. Anybody in that 300-400 range, I'd be sending them over there. Now, just know they got a lot. They're backed up. They have a lot of demand, and it's a nonprofit, so they're only going to work Monday through Friday. So communication's going to be tough. You got to have a lot of patience, and you got to set those expectations with your clients. Say it's great programs,
Oh, okay.
great info, but it's a nonprofit. They don't work the way we work, right? So they're not going to answer your calls every single time. It takes time. I have contact. I mean, I know the executive director. I worked there. I was the director of realty there, so I know the top lending. I know the top, the person who runs it. So she actually hired me to list her home when we sold that on Fernwood just a few years back. So no, it's a good organization, good people, but everything's got its pros and its cons. So it kind of took a little different track there, but hopefully that was helpful just to kind of give you guys some different ideas in terms of approaching this. Just keep practicing. Definitely, I would write down the objections that you're getting as they're coming in, but these are big ones to keep practicing. And the more you do, I already know, like, it's going to be like second nature for you. You just got to give it some time to keep practicing it. You know what I mean? Do it, and don't overthink it. A lot of it, like when I heard this said, Bess, with the objection handling, it's just so, it becomes like they hit you with something, but you're ready for it, so you kind of dodge it and you're still coming forward. Like you still keep moving towards your direction, but it doesn't set you off track. That's why you want to practice it. We haven't practiced one yet. You ready to do one?
No.
Yes.
No.
So we need to. So we're going to. We haven't. You have to do at least one. So let's do. So we're just gonna hold off on buying right now. We hear the market's gonna crash, and we don't want to pay too much for our home.
Okay, so do you have in mind a number that would be feasible for you to afford as a monthly payment?
Yeah, we currently pay $3,200 a month in rent. So
Wow,
if we could,
$32 a month.
yeah, that was good. $3,200 a month. I know. I hate writing that out. I feel like we've been missing out on we've been renting now for 10 years.
Okay, well, if I were able to show you some different options to maybe pay the amount but go towards a mortgage or even lower that payment, would you be interested in meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay, will this today at 4 or tomorrow at 5 work?
Tomorrow at 5.
Sounds good.
Good. Nice shot. See?
You're ready? Yeah.
So there was one spot. So really focus on, I could tell you're focused on what to say next, which was good. And you sounded nice and fluid. But when I brought up the $3,200 and I said, yeah, I'm getting tired of paying, rent basically. I feel like I'm burning my money. I've been doing it for 10 years. That was your gold. So that's what you want to focus on right there.
So what would you have said to that?
So just to that, say, wow, for 10 years you've been paying $3,200 a month. I just want to slow it down and just let them just simmer on that,
Okay.
right? And then just say, yeah, that's over 300,000, right? 10 years payments, 3,200 a month. That's over 300,000. So I'd say you've been making your landlord very happy for the last 10 years. Would you like to find a way on how to capture that and create your own, wealth through real estate? Would you be interested in learning more about that? Yes, I would, Well, that's the very reason we need to get together. So there's actually some amazing opportunity. There's a lot of people scared, I get it. I understand the hesitation. My dad waited till he was 38 years old before he purchased his first home, okay? And so I'm very passionate about helping people start sooner than waiting, because over the long run, you have to purchase when the time's right for you, not based on the market and what everybody else is saying. You buy when it's right for you, when the house fits your needs and the payment fits what you feel comfortable with. So great news, we work with our clients at their pace, right? And you just make it nice and easy. So you want to try one more? Or are you good? Just one more.
Okay.
Let's do it again. Same thing. So, and remember, before jumping into, because the question was great, and if you forget, just go straight to the question. But repeat and affirm. So when I say, we're just going to hold off on buying right now, we think that the prices are going to come down further, and we just want to kind of see what's out there, but we're holding off right now.
Okay, so you want to wait, but you think that the prices are going to come down a lot right now?
Yeah, further than where it's at.
Okay, so what would be a good monthly payment for you and your wife to afford?
If we can keep it under $3,500, we currently pay $3,200 a month in rent. We've been doing that for about 10 years now. So, my wife's tired of having a landlord, and she wants to get her own space.
Wow, 10 years at $3,200 a month?
Yeah.
You've made your landlord very happy.
We have. He drops us off flowers all the time.
All right, well, if I could show you a way to help you invest and invest in real estate, would you be interested in meeting?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. So today at 4 or tomorrow at 5?
Tomorrow at 5 would be great.
Okay, great.
Awesome. That was perfect. It was easy. It was good.
I mean,
So
I
you
don't know if
made
it's easy, but
It was easy. No, but keep it simple. Don't overthink it. Don't overcomplicate it. Just listen to people. Ask questions, right? And they're not always going to go to a yes, but you'll see that more will come to a yes than you realize. Sometimes you got to get hit with that first one and just listen to them. Don't make them wrong, and then ask them another question to get them to self-discover and realize, like, yeah, I have been paying this for how long? And you could ask the question, $3,200 a month. $3,200 a month. Wow. Okay, that could be a mortgage payment. How long have you been renting? Right? So if they don't just offer that up, well, we've been renting about 20 years. 20 years? Well, that's the very reason we need to get together. Okay? I just helped out so-and-so who was in the same situation, and they were crying the day that they got the keys to their house, right? So I'd love to be the one to hand you the keys to your house and show you how to do that. When works well for you. You're connecting, you're setting the appointment. I'm telling you, it's keeping this simple. Don't overthink it. But we gotta keep practicing. Anybody else want to try one more before we wrap up?
I just
Sorry,
have
at 10.
another.
Yes.
How about if they have very low HOA
Uh-huh.
or rent? Somebody been renting forever, the monthly payment was like $1,500. I was
Okay.
like, I cannot afford anything.
So you're saying they have a low rent at
Very low rent,
$1,500?
yeah.
That's a tough situation. Those are the ones that I usually get on the calls is normally on the listing side with the tenant who's in there, who's been in there for 10 years at $1,500 a month. Those are horrible. They're tough. So I'm not saying that you can't overcome that. That's a really tough situation. So one thing is you're going to see the difference between a condition and an objection. Okay? A condition, those can't be overcome. Okay? An objection is just an excuse. It's a hesitation. It's natural to kind of pump the brakes, but it's like, well, these things need to happen, or this is that, or I'm waiting for the prices to come down, or I'm waiting to da-da-da-da. It's that. Those are all objections. A condition is something, when you discover something like that, there's only so much people can do. So I don't wanna say it's impossible. If it's at $1,500 a month, I'd probably be going the BCCDC that route.
How about if it's HOA very low? They have a big house,
Uh-huh.
they
Would they have a
want
low
to sell,
HOA?
but the HOA is 100 and something.
Uh-huh.
We say we wanna downsize. They have
Okay.
a big home, 4-bedroom, 2 stories.
Right.
They wanna move small condo or
Uh-huh.
even Laser Village.
Right,
The HOA is 600 in there.
right.
So what do you say?
It's based on, again, shifting back to the monthly payment. So the HOA is another additional thing. What's important is what monthly payment can you afford? Total, everything included, HOA. So you can work the numbers with that HOA in there, with their payment, to still put them in their comfort zone. But if they wanna focus on the wrong things, you focus on your low HOA, you're stuck in the same house that's too big for you, doesn't fit your needs anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And you could cash out and sell it and make as much as you can. Or are you willing to stay in this big house for the next 14 years to ride out another cycle? They may say, I don't got 14 years, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? You see what I'm saying? So again, it's where they focus. Yes, Leisure Village has a high HOA. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Same with the new construction that's over by
Yeah,
Padre Serra there.
Yeah.
HOA is not cheap there, but that's luxury living.
Those are nice.
Yeah, those
They're
are very
awesome.
nice.
So show them. So say, let me just show you. Said, I get what you're saying in terms of the HOA, but let me just show it to you so you see what you're getting. Okay?
Yeah.
Because you have a low HOA, but they don't do anything. They're not providing any service doing it. These HOAs, they're providing, sometimes you get utilities included, sometimes, there's insurance that's included, you got a lot of common areas, you don't have to do any maintenance. There's a reason why they wanna move. It's probably for lower maintenance. So to get more maintenance, you gotta pay a higher HOA. Okay? So it's just more discovery, that's it. It's just an excuse. That's their excuse, that's where they're focused on the wrong thing. You gotta help them focus on the right things.
No, they were actually, the husband says if I sell the home, I'm not staying in California, because there's no point.
Okay.
I move out. She says I'm not moving out, my kids are here.
Right.
So that was a big thing then.
Yeah. That may be a tough one, then, right? But we'll practice more like that. But let's wrap it up. Do you guys want to wrap up with closing affirmations here?